Hey everyone, you're watching We Had That, and in this video I'm going to talk about the 1980 Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back action figure of Han Solo in his Hoth outfit. From the day I got my first 4 Star Wars figures, they became my favorite toys for about the next 5 years or so. I loved these little plastic spacemen and took them on all kinds of adventures in my living room. When the new The Empire Strikes Back figures started to show up in stores in early 1980, it would have been an understatement to say that I was very excited. Some of my favorite scenes from The Empire Strikes Back were on the ice planet Hoth. With that in mind, it should be no surprise that when the first 10 figures arrived for the new Empire Strikes Back line, the Hoth-themed figures were some of my favorites. Since I was a fan of Han Solo, getting a figure of Han in his Hoth outfit was amazingly cool. I don't remember which ones I got first, but I know that the Hoth Han Solo, the Hoth Stormtroopers, I had a whole squad of those guys, the Rebel Soldier in Hoth battle gear, and the Luke Skywalker in his Bespin fatigues were my favorites of that first wave. I still loved the old figures that I'd been playing with for the last couple of years, but I was so excited about having these new figures that they were at the forefront of my adventures at the time. I would have been happy to get any new figure of Han Solo back then, and I would have been excited about any figure from Hoth. But even if I'd never seen Empire Strikes Back, and even if I didn't know who Han Solo was, I think I still would have liked this figure just because I thought he looked so cool. As I'm sure you already know, each Star Wars figure was packaged in a clear plastic bubble attached to a larger piece of cardboard featuring a photo of the character that the figure was based on. In the case of the Han Solo figure in his Hoth outfit, the photo was a relatively close-up shot of Han out in the elements of the frigid ice planet Hoth riding a tauntaun. The Hoth Han Solo was first released on the 31 back card, named for the number of figures pictured on the back of the package. As a kid, I most frequently saw Star Wars figures packaged individually in the clear plastic bubble attached to the piece of cardboard like I just described. However, I do have vague memories of seeing Star Wars figures in a variety of other types of packages over the years as well. Aside from the figures that came with the cardboard Cantina playset, all of my personal figures came on individual cards. But I do know that you could get the Hoth Han Solo in a variety of other packaging options. For example, this version of the Han figure was at the very least sold in this Hoth-themed 6-pack and this Canadian 7-pack version as well. He was included in a pretty basic white box 4-pack from Ward's and a huge 10-pack that also came in a white box from JCPenney, as well as a variety of 4-packs from Sears. The scenes on the ice planet Hoth were some of the most memorable scenes in The Empire Strikes Back for me. Because Kenner released the Bespin Luke Skywalker in the first wave of Empire Strikes Back figures, they didn't include a Hoth Luke in that wave. But since I had a Hoth Han Solo, my figures were definitely going to have adventures on Hoth, so my original Hoth Rebel Soldier was my stand-in for my Hoth Luke. Those two figures had many adventures in my living room, which had tan carpet better suited for the deserts of Tatooine. But you work with what you've got. And in Georgia, we didn't get a lot of snow, so my icy adventures involved a lot of imagination. This version of Han Solo came with the same blaster as the Han Solo figure from the first movie. One of my favorite aspects of this figure was that you could put his gun in his holster. Well, technically, it wasn't in his holster. It was just kind of attached to the side of his holster. But either way, I thought that was awesome. I don't know if Kenner did this intentionally or if it was just a coincidence, but regardless of the reason, I thought it was great. My Hoth Han Solo had a couple of small paint differences that made him more unique. There was a bit of flesh color paint on his hood, which didn't bother me at all, but made it clear which one was mine if there was ever another kid playing with his Hoth Han at the same time. Mine also had a small dot of black paint under his right eye, which either made him look like he was crying or like he had a scar, depending on the situation. I always thought that the Hoth Han Solo was a cool figure, but especially when he first came out. My Hoth Han was a very well played with figure who was probably also the main figure I used to ride on my Tauntaun. And why not? His riding a Tauntaun looking for Luke was something straight out of the movie that really stuck with me. So in my mind, he was the perfect guy for this. Although there are apparently a myriad of subtle variations of this figure, to be honest, none of them are all that interesting to me. Most of the variations are very slight and mainly in paint color. There are some Hoth Han Solo figures where the legs were molded in blue and painted mostly tan. Then others, which I believe are far less common, were molded in tan with the coat painted blue. That's probably the biggest variation I've read about. Mine is the blue molded legs with tan painted over version, in case anyone was wondering. The Empire Strikes Back first appeared on movie screens on May 21st of 1980. It seems like maybe some of those figures for The Empire Strikes Back showed up in stores before the movie hit the screens, but it's possible that it was just a case of me finding the figures before I saw the movie. Either way, the appearance of an entire new batch of figures in stores was thrilling for me. These new figures obviously became the ones I played with more just by nature of their being new. However, since I was a big fan of the Hoth scenes in The Empire Strikes Back and snow toys in general, my Hoth figures became favorites for probably longer than the newness factor alone. More Hoth figures came out with each new Empire Strikes Back wave. In 1981, we got the Hoth Leia, Rebel Commander, AT-AT Driver, and 2-1B. Then in 1982, Kenner released an official Luke Skywalker in Hoth battle gear. As I just mentioned, I had a platoon of Imperial stormtroopers in Hoth battle gear as well, so there was no shortage of bad guys for my rebels to fight. When the Bespin Han came out in 1981, he became my new main Han Solo figure, but I continued to include my Hoth Han in the adventures, and I would sometimes pretend he was a different guy. My Hoth Han Solo was easily one of my favorite Star Wars figures and saw a lot of action over the years. Did you have Star Wars figures as a kid? If so, who was your favorite? Did you have a Han Solo in his Hoth outfit? Was he a favorite of yours, or did he leave you cold? Tell me in the comments below. Also, please give this video a thumbs up, and if you have a chance, it would be great if you would share it on social media. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notifications bell. As always, thanks for watching.